Beth Hilton with the Bee Company, and I have another amazing international artist to share with you today. Christina Tourin is a world-renowned harpist, a harp educator, founder of schools on every continent, and a harp therapist, music therapist, and all-around incredible performer with a wonderful history to share with you today. So, right here from Southern California, I will bring you Christina Tourin. Welcome, Christina. It's so great to have you here with me today.
It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, and you are joining us from Southern California, is that correct?
Yes, up in the mountains where it's snowing.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's kind of overcast here in Burbank, but just the same, it's a beautiful day when you're with us. So I appreciate you coming to talk about your new album.
Oh, I'm so excited, the new album.
Oh, good. You have a copy there to show us. Can you hold it up a little bit?
Oh, here it is. Geodepedie, The Hidden Light, and all of these wonderful people that have played on the album. I was
Beautiful.
so blessed.
Beautiful 6-panel digipack. I'm so glad that you made a physical CD. We see them less and less, but this looks like a collector's item.
And it even has the liner notes, which these days it's difficult when you have a download and you don't really know what's the song is about. But this is all about a geode that
Right.
you crack open and see the light inside.
So we've got the story behind, I have a copy here too, 16 tracks, which is a very generous album. Well, let's give everyone a little context about you and your history, because I know you've done so many things in the world and the world of harp, but also in the world of spirituality and healing. And this is your first album that you've put out in a while because you've been busy. So tell us a little bit about your history, going back into, say, the 2000s or so, and then bring us up to date.
The 2000s. Oh my goodness. My history kind of goes back way, way back
Uh,
because I was born into the harp. My mother played the harp, and I was just born into it. And she put my high chair behind the harp, and I started playing when I was 1 and 2 years old. But the I would say probably my whole life has been about playing the harp and hearing the music from a very spiritual realm where the music just drops right in. And I was very fortunate to be able to play while living in Vermont, 17 years for the Von Trapp family at their lodge. And so for 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, I would be the harpist in the dining room.
that's amazing. I've always wanted to go there.
It's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. You think you're in Austria.
Fantastic. What a gig.
It was a great, it was a great gig, and of course, I played for Maria von Trapp each night before she passed away.
Wow.
And it was amazing because a very short story. She just one day she's not like Julie Andrews. She's very stout, and she said, "Come here, come here." And so I went up. I had my dirndl on. I thought, "Ooh, maybe it's too low or too, whatever." And she goes, "What was that piece you just played?" And I said, "It's called In the Garden, not the hymn, but another song." She goes, "Go play it again." So I went and I played it again, and she said, "Come here." And so I went over. She goes, "You see out there, my husband, the Baron von Trapp, is buried out there in the garden. And every night I come to dinner, I want you to play that song for me."
Oh,
So, anyways, every night I'd play the song. And then finally, after 7 years playing for her every night, I went in, and all the Von Trapp children were sitting at the table with Father Vossner. And they said, would you please play Mother's song? She's in the hospital. And I went over there and I started playing all these beautiful, beautiful chords, just rippling up to the heavens. And right after that, the maitre d' came with his white towel and sat there and said, she's passed away.
Oh,
So she actually passed away while I was playing her song, and her granddaughter, who is also a musician, and she's a singer, and she and I would play together. She said, you know, my grandmother was right at the very end. She just opened her eyes up and went, wow. And so I felt so honored to be able to play that song, which is on my White Rose album, and just play those beautiful chords going up while Maria von Trapp passed away.
how wonderful. What a story. There's nothing better to carry people over that bridge, I think.
And of course, that's what led me into a lot of work. My father was in the hospital in a coma, and I went over to play for him. And it was 2 weeks. I was playing sleepy harp music. And of course, when you're playing for somebody in a coma, you don't want to put them to sleep. And finally, I started playing Satin Doll. Da 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 da. And his big toe starts wiggling. And the nurse in the ICU says, keep on playing, keep on playing. His life force is coming back. So it's that led me into the music therapy that I do, and eventually starting the whole school, the International Harp Therapy Program, which is now we have graduates from 32 countries serving on 5 continents.
That is fantastic. And you studied under some notable people too when you studied music therapy, right?
I did, yes. Yeah, I was very blessed to be able to have extremely wonderful mentors and teachers.
Fantastic. Well, all of this history is on your website, of course. So we will send people there and we'll put the URL down below. And this wonderful path you've been on brought you up to doing a beautiful CD, and it's based on the island of Iona. And that was 2010, is that right?
2010, I did an album. I went to the Isle of Iona in Scotland. And for me, that place is probably the closest place that you could say there's heaven on earth.
Mm.
And I was in a silent retreat, but I had my little white harp here that I carry with me. It's only 5 pounds.
Oh my goodness, just 5 pounds. It looks like it would be more.
I'm picking it up with my middle finger.
Ah,
And it's made with carbon fiber up here. And then it's got a wooden box. And of course, it has a plug-in. So I
hmm,
can play in stadiums of 7,000 people for people like Amma, who is the Indian spiritual hugging saint.
right, right.
And I was able to turn it around and make it so beautiful. And she played for all the people in the stadium. And then when I played a concert in Rome just before COVID, I wanted to get the big pedal harp like I have at home here. And I accompany a singer, but I couldn't get a harp for that day. So I played this and it went through the whole arena that we were in. And it was just a lovely, and I can put it on my back in a backpack, and I can carry it on the plane. It goes in the overhead,
Oh,
and
don't put it away yet.
I'm
Can you
going to
play
put
a
it.
little bit more?
Oh, well,
It
uh,
sounds great, even here across the Zoom.
what I'll do is I'll just play you just a little bit here. But
Gorgeous.
but here's the other thing is that I do most of my recording on this harp right here. And this is what people will hear on the new album.
Oh,
So, so this harp has been my recording harp for, oh, all these albums. In fact, my new album is my 15th album.
oh. Well, let's jump into some specifics about the CD because, again, I have my copy here and I love this phrase, Geodepedie, hidden light, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Um, I don't know if I can pronounce the name of that person that you're quoting there. Why don't you do that for us?
I'm not sure I can either,
Hermes.
but what it is, it's a quote from the Emerald Tablet.
Mm,
Emerald Tablet. And emeralds for me are absolutely beautiful, the gem of success and of beauty. And thus, that's why my business is called Emerald Harp Productions.
right. And we should point out too that you're also really into gemology. So with this album, it all comes together, right? All your life's interests.
It does. I grew up in a house that was made by a rockhound and a mineralogist, and he traveled to Africa and brought back all these beautiful gems and put it all into the uh, around the front door. And I would go up and I'd touch the amethyst and the tourmaline and all these beautiful gems. And when he died, he somehow went bankrupt, and my father bought this beautiful house for $300
Oh my
on
gosh.
27 acres of land in the state of Maine. And down in the basement were all these rocks and minerals. So as a child, for my 8th birthday, my father got me this big glass case where I would put all my rocks and minerals there. So it's been a big love for me. And so this album, in a way, is sort of dedicated to Mr. Howe because he
Oh,
was my mentor and
oh,
very well known.
fantastic. So let's talk about the title track then. Because again, it's all inspired by a geode, breaking open,
Hmm.
brilliant amethyst geode, I think is what we see here on this cover. And
Hmm.
feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but we see the beautiful light, which does kind of remind you of the sky, so above and below. And the music, though, has another twist built into it. So it's just this wonderful unveiling of surprises when you discover this album.
Well, first of all, I love the song Gymnopédie by Eric Satie. And I love those chords. And I thought to myself, something different in the harp world instead of just 1 3 5 chord and things like that. So on my birthday, my darling grandson gave me a geode, and because knows I like gems. And he gave me a geode, and the whole family stood around this block, cinder block, and I tapped it, and the whole thing exploded up in the air. And all of these little newly formed crystals started falling down. And the way the sun hit it, it was like the light. It
Ah,
was so incredible. And everybody was like, whoa. And at that point, I thought to myself, okay, this is a great thing to let my grandson Jude know that there is light inside of all of us. And all we have to do is open ourselves up to let
mm,
the light shine. And so he was so proud that, he gave me such a beautiful present, which was
oh,
gorgeous because it was the impetus for the song. And about 2 weeks later, I went off to Netherlands and I met up with my dear friend Lies Joosten and Buvana Gerlach. And we went to the studio and we just sat down and I did the chords and started doing a melody. They joined in and she started singing and it was magic. It was like those crystals falling down.
Oh, fantastic. Now, there's another really important track I'd like to discuss, which has to do with the healing aspect of your music. And that's also something that is captured with this album. And it's called Land O'Leal.
Land of the Leal, yes. It is a Scottish song, and it was written by a woman by the name of Lady Nairn way back in the 1700s. And it's a song that we use in hospice. I moved to San Diego to play at the San Diego Hospice. And interestingly, I was with the Von Trapps for 17 years, but I was with San Diego Hospice for 17 years. And we had 15 complementary therapies that we would provide for people who came into our 24 bed end of life. And we would take such good care of them that they'd live for like another year. And the
Oh,
music combined with aromatherapy, combined with massage, with therapeutic touch, with Reiki, with all of our 15 complementary therapies was incredible in the
yeah, and I
room.
can feel it. I mean, there's something about strings, in that situation too. I think more than a lot of other instruments.
Yeah.
And with the harp, it's even more so. There's sort of an ascendant feeling, that comes
Mhm.
through with that
And
track.
that brings me to that next album that we were going to talk about, As Above, So Below, because I do series of 10 lessons at a time. And somebody said, okay, all these Celtic tunes that we're learning for different therapeutic applications, for prisons, for psychiatric centers, for rehab centers, for hospice, for special needs children, they they seem to be reflective. And but I feel like I've been playing in the minor all the time. Can we have something that's lifting up? So
Mhm.
the mixed series that I'm giving to them is called As Above, So Below, which is one of the tracks on the album.
Right.
And it's opening up. And when we talk about music, to open up music, and we can make it very reflective. And it's what we call a closed chord. But we can also take those notes and we can open them up. So what we have is, this is technical, but bear with me. Six to one, right? 6-to-1 ratio. What we're doing is we're doing all the opening, and 6-to-1 is the ratio of the Fibonacci series, opening upwards and outwards with
Mhm.
the spiral, and we call that the interval of hope.
Right. Wonderful. No, I'm sure a lot of people watching will completely understand that. Uh,
Of
no, they
course.
will. I
Yeah.
might not, but they will. That's beautiful. I mean, I can't wait to actually experience a live concert with you. I know we've tried to get together, but it'll happen. It'll happen.
What happened? One
Yeah.
of the things that's very special that we do in our training is that we find that resonance of a person. Now, I can pick up your resonance right now.
Okay.
Mm, right now, in your voice, you have a G resonance. Okay. So then I would just go ahead and flip my little levers here, and I would play a song for you.
That sounds
So
like home to me.
it sounds like home. And
Yeah.
so we teach people how to find a person's resonant tone. And so much of healing music is based on resonance and frequency.
Right.
And different parts of the body that you can help to heal with certain frequencies, then we can do that for the whole body.
Right. That is a
Yeah.
topic that I could spend, the rest of my life studying. That is so fascinating. And that comes down to, you know, working across many cultures, right? They all have their versions of harmonics and chakras and sound and color and
This, with what you just said there,
Mhm.
here's an example of different culture music. Luckily, on the harp, we can tune the harp and get sounds like this.
Very mysterious. Mm. Would that be Middle Eastern
That
or
would
Asian?
that would be Middle Eastern.
Okay.
Then, if you wanted to go to the Far East, then you could have a sound that sounds like this.
Wow.
So it's a very pentatonic sound.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful.
I'm a teacher at heart. I'm that's definitely the gift that I've been given. I'm a performer as well, but the past 10, well, 2010 was my last album. I did an album each year for 15 years, 14 years. And I would always be on to the next one before the last one came out.
Right.
And I finally decided, as I'm getting ready to retire from the administration of the International Heart Therapy Program, I decided that I wanted to go back and make another album for my creative juices, not to be always doing admin on the computer.
Right, right. Good.
So, yeah, this is number 15, and I'm so glad to be back into the music world.
You are
And
one of the most well-traveled people I've ever met in my life.
I've been pretty much up until COVID on the road, maybe 9 months of the year, and living in different places, and every place is called home to me,
Mhm.
and meeting so many wonderful people.
Yeah.
So I do travel. This summer, I'm going to be in the UK.
Mhm.
And in Iona, I take groups of people to Iona, and I have a couple more openings if anybody wants to join us. And you don't have to play the harp, you can just come with your spouse. And it's a beautiful place. And we do have harp music going on with those who do come with their spouses to play harp. And then from there, heading down to Brittany and teaching in Brittany, going on to Barcelona, going into the mountains and of the Pyrenees, and from there over to Italy to work with Ludwig and his group of people, and then off to Netherlands where we have our training center for Europe and our training center for Italy and France as well. So
I am
that's summer. And
that's a dream. That is just sounds like a dream to me. You're so
and
fortunate.
then I don't want to forget to tell you about Australia. I'll be in Australia in April, May, and so that's another exciting place to be.
Well, we do have friends all over the world. So, especially within the new age world music world that I deal with a lot. And so, I know you've been very immersed in the harp world. So I look forward to, inviting the new age and world music world to reach out to you and come and get to know you wherever you're going.
Oh, I would love that. I'm of course definitely immersed in the harp world, but I'm always looking for musicians, flute players, cello players, guitar, piano, you name it.
Mhm.
I love acoustic music, but I love having that kind of pad sound that kind of floats the music. It's
Hmm.
kind of part of the music that I like to make.
Yeah, I noticed that on the album. There's little accentuations of guitar, synth, and then beautiful vocals, of course, too. So it's a really nice combination.
This album is a little different than some of my other albums. The other albums were more orchestrated with flute and cello, and this one is really more guitar and voice and harp and
Mhm.
synth. It it's it was a different journey for me to make it, and I'm very pleased with it. Yes.
Very good, very good. Well, um, Geodepedie, am I saying it right?
I started out doing Geodepedie, and everybody goes, "That's so hard to say." And I said, just think it as GOPD, not the police
Yeah.
department, but GOPD. And it's sort of like you just falling over that D.
Okay.
Geodepedie. Geodepedie.
Geodepedie.
Right. Yes.
Geodepedie Hidden Light is available everywhere now. That's streaming, physical, digital, download, and of course, I always think the best sound comes with the CD itself. So you can find Christina and all her links at christinatourin.com, which will show you below and then also in the notes. Um, Christina, I would say something came to mind. It's probably a cliche, but to me, looking at your career and your travels, home is where the harp is. That's what just came to me as you were talking. I was like, wow, it's really like having a best friend with you all the time.
Right. I mean, we usually hear the word home is where the heart is,
Yeah.
but this is heart to heart for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Again, you're bringing together music, peace, spirituality. Any advice for everyone out there?
Oh, just pray hard for peace. Pray hard for peace, folks. Um, intention is everything. You know, sometimes we feel that we don't there's nothing we can do. But if we just keep holding it and keep that smile for the people that you walk by each day and just make the world a little bit better place, and at least, if we touch one person, that's we've done our job. We've done why we're here. One person touches another person and another and another. Yes.
Yeah.
Let
Very
the light from within shine out like a geode.
perfect. Thank you, Christina.
You're so welcome, and thanks so much for having me. Thank you so much for the B Company promoting this album, and to all my musicians, and to my creative coach, Suzanne Doucet. You've all been just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.